Take a journey with me. Like the rippling waves of the ocean, the flowing waves that weave our world sometimes break course and begin to erode a part of reality that we were previously unaware of. Like the rarity of a shooting star, it sends limitless potential and burning hot talent blazing across our eyes, only to burn out far too soon. This is, in the shortest way I can put it, the most fitting way to describe the star of today's podcast, James the Rev Sullivan, frontman, founder of the band that we are covering today, Pinkly Smooth. So, who are Pinkly Smooth? Well, to be quite honest, I would bet 99%, well, actually, if you're watching this, you probably know exactly who they are, but this feels like the kind of band that only if you already know them are you interested in hearing anything more about them. But here's why you should be interested. In 2001, while already working on albums with Avenged Sevenfold, James Sullivan, stage named The Rev, stage named in Pinkly Smooth, Rathead, decided that he wanted to start a side project. So on Pinkly Smooth, he is the lead on drums, vocals, and occasionally the keyboard. And he started this side project with fellow Avenged Sevenfold band members, plural, Sinister Gates on lead guitar, and ex-A7X bassist Justin Meacham, whose stage name is Justin Sane. And he would also be playing the keyboard for Pinkly Smooth. So a lot of role reversal here. And then, of course, this is rounded out by bassist Buck Silverspur, stage named El Diablo, and Derek Eglet, stage named Superloop. So again, this band was founded in 2001, which, if you're keeping score, is the same year that Avenged Sevenfold's first studio album came out. So this was a true side project that it's kind of hard to tell if it was started because of the success of the first album, after, before. If you go to Wikipedia for Pinkly Smooth, it redirects you to just the Revs page. That is how little people care about this album to some extent. So let me ask you this, Ryan. Because I know you're obviously an Avenged Sevenfold fan to some good extent, obviously not quite like myself, but when did you become aware of Pinkly Smooth, and how do you think that this band, other than being a break off of Avenged Sevenfold, is able to reach anybody?
It was in the 9th grade. I remember being in high school, and I had a small friend group where we all listened to the same music. And we were always trading, and we would come in the morning and say, like, hey, I was listening to this and it led me to that band. Like, have you heard of these guys? And there were a few of us who liked Avenged Sevenfold. And one of my friends in high school asked if I'd ever heard of Pinkly Smooth. And I was like, no, can't say that I have. So I went and looked them up. At the time, I thought they sucked. And I only thought that because I thought it was going to sound like Avenged Sevenfold, and it didn't. So I went in with the wrong mindset. I'm just going to go ahead and spoiler alert. My opinions have changed a lot on Pinkly Smooth since the 9th grade. I thought this album was great, and I love how creative it is and unique sounding, but that was it. I remember listening in like the 9th grade. I went years and years and years not even thinking about Pinkly Smooth at all until I want to say it was
You're
when
not thinking
Avenged
about
Sevenfold,
that Smooth Pink?
The jokes are there, but I'm not going to say them.
Yeah, fair enough.
I think it was when Avenged Sevenfold's newest album was coming out that you and I were kind of diving back down the Avenged Sevenfold rabbit hole. I listened to albums of theirs that I hadn't before. We were preparing for the concert, and just kind of naturally, organically, you and I were talking about Pinkly Smooth. I'm like, you know what? Let's give this another shot. This is, like I said, probably 2 years ago, and I loved it. I thought it was great. So I listened to it quite a bit 2 years ago. Again, it's not something that I have on the regular rotation, only because it's not on Spotify. If they have this on Spotify, because that's where I listen to most of my music, I would have it on my everyday playlist, and I would listen to it more frequently than I do. It's just not convenient to like pull up YouTube in the car when I have everything else on Spotify. But yeah, that's my history with Pinkly Smooth. And I got to say, when I tried to look up some other things about them for this episode that we're doing, it was hard. Like you said, you click on Pinkly Smooth on Wikipedia, it takes you to the Rev. So there's not a whole lot of info. I do have some here, but not a ton. But what's your experience? Because you and I have never talked about this before. We only talked about it, the 2 years ago.
Within the context of Avenged Sevenfold, because honestly, here's the deal with Pinkly Smooth before I give my background on it, is this They have made, I think, 7 songs total. 6 of them are on this album. The 7th one is just some, screw around bonus that they did later. And amongst a minefield of shit, that is the biggest shit. So I'm glad it didn't make it onto this album, because this album at least has a good funky flow to it with what they're trying to do. But my background on Pinkly Smooth is relatively the same. I couldn't pinpoint exactly what year, what age I found them first, but it was solely because the obvious, right? It was probably also around high school for me, probably 10th, 11th, 12th grade, something like that. So around the same time period as you. But it was the same thing. Avenged Sevenfold, since I first heard them, well, again, Avenged Sevenfold is the band that got me into any rock, period. So they were always going to be my favorite band. But especially back then, they were, my favorite band to a large degree because I didn't know as much as I know now. So as it goes, you start deep diving this stuff and all of that. And I was never super into the Rev. I kind of thought I knew he was talented. I knew he was insanely talented, but he was just the tall, gangly, goofy looking dude in the background of all their pictures. He had the weird, like, crow bird fucking haircut. He was like the epitome. They all looked crazy back then, but he was just like, he was an eyesore amongst eyesore. It was crazy how well he was able to stick out as like a 6 foot, seemingly 5 gargantuan slender man, just kind of hanging around in the background. And when you hear him sing, his voice is so distinct because it's not good. But then, of course, you hear him play the drums, you hear him, do his thing, and he clearly has one of the most creative minds imaginable. So I started to deep dive the Rev in Sinister Gates, because I love Sinister Gates. He's my favorite band member and favorite guitarist, period. And I eventually saw, I was like, oh, what have these guys done before? Because they clearly have a background. Sinister Gates has a big background in a bunch of different kinds of music, jazz, big band, all that we'll get into. And the Rev essentially had to be begged to be in Avenged Sevenfold in the first place. It was only ever really supposed to be kind of like a fill-in until they found somebody honestly less talented than him. So I started to deep dive them, and I was like, oh, this is Pinkly Smooth. And that's like that era of life too, where you're more willing to listen to the cringe things, the weird things, like the insane clown posses of the world, as we've mentioned on here before, the Antwords of the world that I know you and I have both admitted to shamefully listening to before learning that they're terrible people and their music is absolutely trash. But this kind of fell into that category for me, where I was like, dude, this band, this album, whatever this is, fucking sucks. But it doesn't suck in the way that I don't ever want to listen to it again. It sucks in the way where I just kind of have to know, I have to expect a certain flair and funk that only the Rev is able to bring. Now, much like you said, how I'm kind of pushing forward with my thoughts here was built over the years. When I first heard it, I was like, yeah, this album sucks, man. And same thing as you. I was like, oh, it's the Rev and it's Sin Gates. This is going to be Avenged Sevenfold 2.0. It's not. And it's not trying to be fair. So much a similar background to you, where I was just kind of like, okay, this is probably Avenged Sevenfold 2.0. Oh, it's not. Oh, it sucks. Oh, no, it doesn't. Well, okay, yes, it sucks, but I also just need to be in the right headspace to understand what I'm listening to in the first place. So I won't spoil it yet, but I was saying before the podcast, we usually give a rating out of 10 at the end of this. I'm giving 2 different ratings. Hook 'em horns for anybody watching. I don't know why I did it that way. But this album hooked me in a very specific way. So I will be giving it a rating as if it was a true traditional metal album. And I'll also be giving it a rating for what it's supposed to be, which I'm sure is a bit of obvious foreshadowing as to what those ratings might be. But to that end, what do you think? Because I came out of this kind of thinking there really is no purpose to most of this. But I think you could very easily go the other direction and listen to the lyrics more heavily, or understand how complex of a mind the Rev was, and find a bunch of meaning in each of these songs. But I chose to go about it in a much less serious route. What kind of headspace do you put yourself in to enjoy this album the most?
Just really fun. I'm gonna have fun, and I don't know what's coming next on these songs the first 10 times I listen to them, because it's just so unconventional. I can't really compare it to much because I think it's very unique. It reminds me like its uniqueness reminds me of Primus, if you've ever listened to Primus. So
yeah, actually,
I mean, their music, I don't think anyone else really sounds like them. The way that like Les Claypool's bass stands out, their weird, odd sounding guitar, like incredible drums in the back. Les Claypool's singing also is not great, but it fits and I like it. That's how I felt about this. Is maybe they're doing things that don't work like from a technical standpoint, but it's so much fun to listen to, and I think it's great. Now, it's funny that you asked that because yeah, this is a really fun sounding album to me, and I've talked about this on the podcast before. I am horrible with understanding lyrics. You could have someone who is singing so clearly, and my brain just does not process it. That's part of the reason that I make up my own lyrics is because I'll get the melody in my head, and I'm like, this is what it sounds like to me, and I'm going to fill in the blanks. So that's how I felt about this. I don't know a word that he's saying. I'm not saying that he's mumbling. Like, I know this came out in 2001, so a long time ago. I'm not saying that the quality is absolutely awful, even though it's not the best. I just, man, I can't understand it like at any point. So I looked up the lyrics today. They're kind of dark. They're all
Very.
like really dark sounding. And I was on Genius, that lyric website, and I don't know if these are true or not. I didn't check whoever posted these, but I'm assuming Sinister Gates did interviews where they asked him what's the meaning of each of these six songs, and it seems like most of them are about death or something dark in that case. It reminds me of like how on Piece of Heaven, for people who have heard that song, you know, a guy kills his girlfriend, does
And then
unspeakable
fucks her.
things, she comes back to life, she kills him. It's like some of them tell stories like that. I think it was the last song on the album was about like his cat dying or something. Another one was about killing your brother, and it's like I didn't expect this based off of the way the music actually sounds. And if you want, I can get that. I have the website pulled up now, so in a minute we can go through what Sinister Gates said each of the song meaning was according to Genius.com.
Which is brilliant. And I just spit all over my mic if somebody wants to buy it for $300. But anyway, yeah, well, one, it's kind of crazy because I wonder, with this being so close to the genesis of Avenged Sevenfold picked their name because they're not a religious band. I said this in that episode, so you can go back and look, but they're not a religious band, but they did say they picked the name Avenged Sevenfold after the story of Cain and Abel, which anybody who knows ball, one of them killed the other one. We're not going to talk about how Adam and Eve had two sons and then the rest of humanity came from two boys. Aside from that, one of those motherfuckers killed the other one. So I wonder if that was like a weird running theme for them. But two parts here. One, it's interesting that you were able to find more on that because I'll be honest, I looked at some of the lyrics, but I almost purposely didn't deep dive them because I kind of want how I listen to this album to remain how I listen to this album.
Okay.
But also more so the reason is my own laziness, because whenever I went to look up the lyrics to my favorite song on here, I looked up the ones on Genius and then like two other sites, and they were all different.
See, okay. So I'm not the only one who can't understand lyrics.
So I at that point I was like, well, I'm not gonna bother to really look up the rest of the lyrics. Again, lazy, but I'm gonna masquerade as if I'm saying that because I don't know what I'm looking up in the first place. Half of the lyrics are different than every site that you look at, which is fine. They never had like a legitimate like CD release, I don't think. So I understand how it's very hard for all of this to get lost in translation, but I was like, nobody else really gave a shit about the lyrics that much. Should I even? But to your point, Mr. Astute listener, a lot of the songs are dark, and something I had listed under my little fun facts is the song Fiction, which is not a Pinkly Smooth song. It is an Avenged Sevenfold song off of the album Nightmare. And the reason I bring this up is for a couple reasons. One, because there used to be a lot of rumors that this song was going to be written for Pinkly Smooth, but Pinkly Smooth hadn't done anything since '01. This song is written in like 2008 or 2009 or something like that. Literally 2009, actually. I know exactly the day it was written, but it was in 2009. And so it was maybe a Pinkly Smooth song, maybe wasn't, but the song was written, the lyrics composed, all of that by The Rev, by James Sullivan. And so, interesting fact, Fiction is a nickname that the Rev gave himself, but also the title of the song on Nightmare. In an interview with Matt Shadows, the lead vocalist for Avenged Sevenfold, Shadows stated, the eeriest thing about it is there is a song on the album called Fiction, a nickname Sullivan gave himself, which started out with the title Death. And it was the last song the Rev wrote for the album. And when he handed it in, he said, that's it. That's the last song for this record. And then 3 days later, he died. So,
man, I got chills.
I knew that. Literally the hairs on the back of my neck are standing up, because anybody who doesn't know, the Rev passed away in 2009. I want to say like October, maybe November. I should have that down considering I just looked it up today. But in 2009, he passed away from overdose. It originally was inconclusive. Months later, an autopsy found overdose of alcohol, anxiety drugs, oxycodone, all kind of like painkillers. So for me, it is a weird, it's a weird balance that the Rev kind of takes you through, where it's like, is he wildly depressed? Is he just, this is what makes him so unique. I truly believe that he was some sort of neurodivergent, or otherwise told that he was gifted as a child, which is just another way for telling people that they're neurodivergent. You don't know how to tell them that. And probably went through his teenage years, childhood years, not understanding why he was so different personality-wise and musically from his peers. But again, he's revered as one of the greatest musicians to really ever do it. And it makes things like this make you wonder, is he an artist that was just living as freely as he could and wasn't letting society or other people tell him what to do, even at the cost of his own life at the young age of 28? Or was this one of the many uber talented, insanely smart people of this world that struggle to find their place or their value or their purpose, and he was doing all of these drugs and all of this weird out of pocket shit during his musical antics because of those reasons? So was he super happy? Was he wildly depressed? Whatever the answer is, I think is exactly how we ended up getting an album like this. But it is weird that Fiction, again, which maybe wasn't a Pinkley Smooth song originally, he turned it in, said, here you go, this is the last one. 3 days later, he's out. And the song literally had the title of Death originally. And it was named after himself. So
that's so sad, but just the way that you're talking about it all lining up, and we're unfortunately never going to get to know, when you said which one is it, depressed, happy, somewhere in between. We're never going to get to know that. We're only going to have basically the music and the stuff that he wrote to try to make an educated guess. Before people come in saying, well, in this interview, that interview, yeah, maybe he did say it. I haven't listened to every interview or read every interview that the Rev's done, but yeah, I mean, that's all. I mean, we can put the clues together at least that are left here.
I mean, if you listen to pretty much every interview I've ever really seen of him, which was, again, the Avenged Sevenfold days, 01 to when he passed in 09, he was just kind of like the Steve-O, the Johnny Knoxville of the group. He was that guy that was just constantly in the background trying to be a jackass and make everybody laugh. He just kind of seemed like, which again, Robin Williams, a lot of people, they put on that face and you have no idea what's going on behind. So that's not to say that he couldn't have had his issues going on, which if you get to that point of taking that many drugs, overdosing, all that, you clearly have to have something going on, or you were just the epitome of throwing caution to the wind. But to see him, he seemed like one of the, not down to earth is certainly not the words I want to use, but one of the most personably kind people that you could meet. But again, those people are often the most depressed. So tell me about the meanings that Mr. Gates gave us here, because it seems like we'll get some of our answers through that.
So you do want to hear. Okay. So first track, is that Mesmer? Is that what the first one is?
I believe the first one.
Theater.
Correct.
That one just says, hey, this is the first track on the album, and there's nothing else on it. I do want to say a couple of these are unconfirmed. So look, our baby metal episode that we did, we had a lot of baby metal fans. Like 95% of them were very kind and pointed some things out to us.
Come for us, bitches. Ryan will respond to you personally and dox you, your IP address.
I'm going to say, if there are any Pinkley Smooth fans that know the lore and things about the Rev more than we do, let us know. I mean, it's nice to see the people listen and to see your comments. So yeah. Here's what it says about now Mesmer. This is the second one. According to Sinister Gates, this song is about a man who kills his brother and is then dragged into hell to tell his brother why. Satan makes him choose between either him staying for eternity or his brother. So he chose his brother. Then the brother takes over his body and kills himself in it for revenge.
Jesus Christ. I love that. I hate that, but I love that. What a story to be told.
It's just the Rev was it seems like he was a storyteller. He had these wacky ideas. I already brought it up, but A Little Piece of Heaven. I'll get to the one about his cat later. This one about the two brothers. I don't know. The only thing that I could hope for, I wish that we could have got more Pinkly Smooth. I know he contributed to Avenged Sevenfold songs. I wish we could have got more where he was driving the ship. He was the one who was in charge. This is the music he wants to make. But neither here nor there. Not going to happen. This is what we got, and I love it. But the next one, Nosferatu Does a Hefty Dance, which is my favorite track name from the album.
Yes.
So good. This one's unverified. It's unreviewed. On one account, Sinister Gates explained that this song was a song about an introvert who turns out to be a sadistic serial killer who breaks his victims' bones and makes wall murals out of them.
Bro. I'm like, are you familiar with Happy Tree Friends?
Yeah.
So how it's like, you know, obviously like very kid style cartoonish animation, and then it's just a fucking chainsaw through somebody's neck.
Yeah,
that is what like. That is this album, because I could, based on some of the lyrics that I saw, and obviously listening to it, you can hear some of the things that are going on, but it is literally like he is just carnival style smiling in your face, and it shanks to the fucking kidney, man. That's what a whiplash. What whiplash?
Yeah, it is, and with such a cool title. Pixel and Nasal says this song feels more about a monarch hungry for power. So unverified, unreviewed, could be not. I'm going through the lyrics. It's not what I get from it, but I don't get anything from it. I just get nonsense. I'm sure there is a meaning, but yeah, I can't interpret it at the moment. Okay, help me out with this title, because I thought I was having a stroke when I was reading it. The Body of Death of the Man with the Body of Death. Did I say that right?
Oh man, because the YouTube video that I have up only says The Body of Death. All right, here we go. Hold on. What does it say here on The Body of Death of the Man with the Body of Death? Yeah. Yeah. Have you ever thought so? But yes.
Why do they call it oven when of hot
when
eat
of
the food
in
out?
the food, but of our hot eat the food?
Okay. Sinister Gates stated that this song doesn't necessarily have a definitive meaning. He and Jimmy got drunk and simply wrote whatever came to them.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep.
Makes sense.
I'm down with that.
And the last one, McFly. McFly is supposedly about the Rev's cat after Sinister Gates let him die while he was watching him. Okay, I'm not trying to laugh. Also unreviewed. Could be wrong, but that's what Genius says.
That's a friend ender. Hey, imagine a world where, because I don't know when that would have happened, clearly before the making of the song, which was the genesis of Pinkly Smooth and lines up with the genesis of Avenged fucking Sevenfold. Imagine a world where that drives apart the Rev and Gates. I love Matt Shadows. I love Zachy Vengeance. I'm okay with Johnny Christ. He's all right. But I love that band as a whole. I think the sum of the parts make them a greater whole. But if you don't have even just one of the Rev or Sinister Gates, Avenged Sevenfold never reaches the heights that they have. And we've been over it. Avenged Sevenfold has been a band longer without the Rev than they were with the Rev at this point. But they never hit the mainstream stage the way that they did without two of the best ever. And it could have just been down to Homeboy letting his friend's cat die. Maybe. Unconfirmed, maybe.
And I know I've already said to people who are listening, to all three other Pinkly Smooth fans, I'm just kidding. I know there's dozens of us. That is all alleged.
An unfortunate snort from me myself.
I was going through other comments on actual like the website song meanings where people can put their own interpretations. People were having a discussion saying the cat thing sounds made up. It might be about, a friend who had a family member pass, all sorts of stuff. So
Yeah, yeah,
it
yeah.
is just speculation that, we're not going to know. Sinister Gates might know, if anyone actually does ask him, he might have the actual story. Like, yeah, I let the Rev's cat die. I was supposed to be watching him. I forgot about him, but he could say something else. But that's what we have. That's what we had to go with.
I wonder how much. I mean, obviously they all definitely still think of the Rev, but I wonder how much Sinister Gates thinks about Pinkley Smooth anymore. Because I'll be honest, this feels like, in a very loose way of comparing the two, it feels like Avenged Sevenfold is when we were streaming full time and gave a shit. And Pinkley Smooth was that, I'll throw on stream 3 times a year, fuck around, see if anybody shows up, have a good time for 2 hours type thing. And I'll be honest, I am much, much quicker to forget about those streams, other than Extra Life. That was amazing. Thank you to everybody who participated. But if I just throw on the stream now for 2 hours, everything that happened is out of my brain the next day, very likely. Whereas with my main hoe, I was thinking about every small detail of that very often. So I wonder how much that Gates even thinks about this. But now that we know the meanings... Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I don't know. You're right. Maybe from Sinister Gates' perspective, but from the Rev, I think just whatever was up in his brain, he's like, I don't care if this works musically. I don't care if it's the wrong key or whatever going into this chorus, or I don't care if this sounds funky and like there's a weird choir behind me. I'm going to do it. And this is my project and I love it. And this is what I'm going to do with it. For Sinister Gates, yeah, he might be like, what are we doing here? Like, come on. Like, what's going
I used
on?
to be in a big jazz band.
I didn't even know that was his guitar playing. I listened to this several times before I looked up the members. And I mean, you and I talked about it, I'm sure. I thought maybe just during their live performances, Sinister Gates was up there filling in. I didn't know that was actually him that recorded the guitar parts because some of it was so like surf rocky and it just didn't sound like his signature playing. I think he's got a pretty signature style now at Avenged Sevenfold.
Oh,
It
yeah.
just didn't sound like him. I thought that was cool. I thought some of those guitar parts, especially mixed in with like the little breakdown drums and bass, it reminded me of like, this is going to be oddly specific. It could have been like the credits for like Cat Dog or Rocco's Modern Life, the way all those funky little songs sounded. But yeah, I loved it. No, sorry, I interrupted you. Or you can say
No. I think that kind of encapsulates it perfectly. And a lot of the band members of Avenged were childhood friends, but from everything I was looking, it seemed like Gates and the Rev were the closest growing up. Maybe Gates and Shadows, considering one of them married the other one's sisters, or they married each other's sisters, some shit like that. I know one of them is married to the other one's sister. I think it's Gates to Shadows' sister, but either way. But they were very close childhood friends, so I'm sure. And they were, again, love the whole band. They were the two that made that band what it currently is. So I was actually going to say something else, but I'm going to get to what I think are the strengths of this album, and I want your opinions on it. I have 2 major points here, and I got to tell you, it's the 2 people I just named. I don't think there's anything lyrically, instrumentally, anything crazy that this album does. There's a lot of things that it does differently, but there's not. What made this band and this album so great is the people and the thoughts behind it, not necessarily the music itself. Because again, the music itself is fucking terrible. It doesn't mesh together. Things are out of place all over the place. You can't really understand the lyrics. Nobody really knows what the lyrics even are half the time. But it's still at its core one of the most creative, mad scientist brains that the music world has ever seen, and one of the most talented guitarists and musicians ever in Sinister Gates. So my point number 1 for what I think is the biggest strength to this album and this band is the Rev. Now, why? Other than the absolute glazing of a donut that we've given him so far, this is an unmistakable one of a kind mind. So the Rev got his influence from people like Mike Portnoy, who coincidentally replaced him for a little bit after he passed away for Avenged. He's influenced by Lars Ulrich, Tommy Lee, a lot of really big names here, which is also kind of crazy because those are much more traditional style. Now, again, this is a point where rock is still kind of finding its own voice in a bunch of these different subgenres that we don't really care to ever label, but those are much more traditional sounding rockers. Again, Lars Ulrich, Metallica, like the poster child for what metal is supposed to be. The Rev, I think, took all of those styles, blended them together, and still found a way to add even more to it, where to the point where he invented, or I guess probably a more realistic way of saying it is popularized a version of a technique that is called the double ride, which is the drum skill. In his version, he called it the double octopus. Why did he call it the double octopus? Well, in the Rev's own words, because I didn't know what else to call it. So all it is a fast coordinated pattern of double bass and ride cymbal strokes. It's found in so many. You go listen to Welcome to the Family. You listen to Almost Easy. You hear it. You don't even have to know what it is, but you'll hear the drums and be like, shit, that sounds like an octopus. But again, like I said earlier, he was a bit of that classic sex, drugs, and rock and roll guy to the point where it literally killed him. And this is where I was saying, is he an artist who he's somewhere between living life as freely as he could on his own terms and a troubled mind that perhaps didn't know how to live within its own confines? And that's a scary place to be. It's a beautiful place to be. I think that is where our most creative impressionist minds come from. Any fantastic artist, musician you've ever seen, probably autistic to some extent. And that's a beautiful thing, but it also brings about as many problems as it does benefits, right? And I that's what makes me wonder if the Rev kind of fell into that hole of just not really knowing what his reality was supposed to be. And this is where I said that this is what makes him so unique, that I believe that he's neurodivergent, or otherwise told he was gifted as a child. And he was revered as one of the most talented drummers and overall musicians to ever do it for a reason. And still, to this day, as we've mentioned, has credits for writing songs for Avenged Sevenfold, some 15, 16 years, well, I guess at that point, 14 years after his passing. He's credited as a drummer, composer, songwriter, vocalist, and pianist on Avenged Sevenfold's catalog. Same thing for Pinkley Smooth. The more I looked into it, the more I saw that he wrote and composed some of my favorite songs from Avenged Sevenfold. So he was the absolute mastermind. To your point, we wish we could have got some more that was just his brainchild. Tell me what you fucking think about these songs, White Boy. Ryan's not white. White Boy. He wrote and composed. Yeah, hey, that means we can claim you. In the Dave Chappelle racial draft, we are allowed to take you like we took Tiger Woods. Or no, I guess we lost Tiger Woods. Anyway, tell me what you think about these songs. Afterlife. That's my favorite Avenged song.
Classic.
Save Me.
Good.
Again, one of my favorites, and it's really one of the only songs that's over like 10 minutes long that I can get with. Or I think that one might be 7, but either way.
Played that live when you and I went, did they? No.
They did.
I can't remember.
No, they did. They did. It was either that or Victim. Shit. Either way, it was one, but I think it was Save Me. He wrote Unbound, The Wild Ride, which is a lesser known one, but an absolute hitter. I believe it's on the self-titled album, maybe? I'll be wrong about that. But I'll just blow through the rest of these. So he wrote Afterlife, Save Me, Unbound, A Little Piece of Heaven, obviously, Scream, which used to be my favorite Avenged song, and Brompton Cocktail, which if you go back and listen, do you know what a Brompton Cocktail is?
You and I did an Avenged Sevenfold tier list, and you told me then, and I can't remember. I thought it was like an alcoholic drink or like something like that. Maybe a like Molotov cocktail.
Well, the way that he used it, it was kind of both.
Drink or an explosive. I can't remember.
Yeah, exactly. And the way that the Rev used it, it was kind of both. And this is actually also very eerie because a Brompton Cocktail is essentially what they put in a syringe to give people the death penalty. Like when you get injected to die, that's that shit that is what a Brompton, it kills you. So no, it's not either one of those things. But yes, he found his Brompton Cocktail through literal cocktails, not to make a poor joke for a past man. But moving on to some of the Rev's accolades, he placed 8th on Ultimate Guitar's top 10 drummers of all time, beating out Bill Ward of Black Sabbath and Keith Moon of The Who. And what I think is even more impressive, the same magazine or website, Ultimate Guitar, they placed him 5th in their top 25 singing drummers in 2017, 8 years after he died. Now, again, some bias can be played into that. You have a bit more pity for the greatness of those who have passed. You'll put them on a little higher pedestal automatically sometimes. But I want your thoughts on the Rev specifically here, because to me, he is so obviously the driving force behind specifically Pinkley Smooth. Like, you listen to this album, you just think Rev.
So you just want my opinion on the Rev? Because going back to when we did Scars on Broadway, and I talked about Darren Malakian, or however you pronounce his last name. He's like one of my biggest music inspirations, and I don't even know how. But some people are like, he's horrible. Some people say he's a genius. I said that he's a musical genius. I think he does what he wants, especially on Scars on Broadway. And if it works, great. If not, get over it. It's his project. Who cares? I think the Rev has that same attitude when it comes to Pinkley Smooth, where I don't. If someone came up to him and said that Pinkley Smooth sucked, I don't know. I could be wrong, but he could just say like, okay, this is my project and what I want to do, and this is how I'm going to do it. And it's inspirational for me that he wasn't looking at what's popular in 2001 before Avenged Sevenfold was huge anyway. What was popular in 2001? That's what I'm going to make. No, he made like some of the most bizarre, darkly themed, just I don't know, unique music that. Again, if anyone has any other recommendations for something close to this anyway, give them here, because these 6 songs just aren't enough. So yeah, we can go on and on about his drumming and everything else, but yeah, I'm jealous of that aspect, that he could just go in and do what he wanted and put it out there and, be proud of it. I think if Avenged, probably, if they didn't get as popular as they did so fast, maybe we could have got some more Pinkley Smooth, and he'd still be out there playing those kind of shows. If he wasn't, he'd be out there playing, I don't know, I'm just guessing. Maybe he would be out there playing smaller Pinkley Smooth shows, even with Avenged Sevenfold's later success, if time had allowed it. If they weren't, touring the entire world as Avenged. But yeah, I love that aspect about him.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right. I think this was his passion project. It's just so clear. You think this album, you think Pinkley Smooth, you think The Rev, you think a freak in the best way. You think, honestly, you think a carnival act. You think this guy is a carny. This guy is a goblin. He's a carny. That is what The Rev
and
is.
You talked about his influences. Am I mistaken in that Danny Elfman was one of his influences? Is that true?
Who did The Nightmare Before Christmas?
Yes, because I thought I had heard that somewhere, or I'm either making that up, because to me, a couple parts, not like entire songs, but there are parts on Unfortunate Snort, like the ending of Necromance Theater, that it reminds me of Danny Elfman. Now, I only know Danny Elfman from his movie soundtracks. I know he's got Oingo Boingo, I think it is. I've never listened to them much, but just based off of his...
The Rev specifically cited Elfman's work, particularly his cinematic scores like Beetlejuice, as an influence on his songwriting, especially, stop me here if you're shocked, especially the avant-garde metal song, A Little Piece of Heaven.
Okay, well, that makes sense. I thought I'd heard that somewhere. Listening to Unfortunate Snort, especially the first song, that's kind of what triggered that memory. Like, I'm pretty sure he said he was influenced by Danny Elfman, and I could definitely hear it on this, because I just love that. Like, we talked about it when it comes to Life is But a Dream. There are songs on there where you could play the first 30 seconds of the song, and then you could skip forward 45 seconds later, and it would sound totally different, like a different song. The thing is, okay, stay with me here. Picture that there is an obstacle course. You've got like hammers swinging in front of you, and pits and everything else. You have to jump, a Crash Bandicoot level, if you will. You get 30 seconds to look at the level ahead of you, this obstacle course, and then you're blindfolded, and you have to make your way through the level.
And we beat the devs of the game in the blindfolded race. Continue.
When it comes to Life is But a Dream, I think there's some songs that work, and other songs like We Love You, that even though that song's grown on me, it's like they put the blindfold on, they made it to the end of the level, but man, they were getting hit by the hammers. They were tripping over the pits.
Not the speed running route, yeah.
Yeah, they were having a little trouble. For Pinkley Smooth, it's like they're like, I got this. He puts on the blindfold and makes it clean through that obstacle course. Even if it's unconventional, even if it's not the right way to do it, I just think I think the craziness and the chaoticness of it just fits better. It flows better. Which
So
is why I'm
yeah,
like, I wish we could have got him when they made Life Is But a Dream. If the Rev was alive and contributed to that album, I know he contributed technically because even
yeah,
that
yeah,
demo song
yeah.
you pointed out, "Beautiful Morning," I heard a couple lines from Mattel. So like he's still contributing, but if he were alive to have his input on Life Is But a Dream, mm, Chef's
I'll be
Kiss would have been
honest.
phenomenal.
I think if the Rev never dies, obviously Avenged is not the same band that they are right now. They would have. I'm not saying they would have went a completely different direction or anything, but that's the guy that has the influence, right? And I say this because I think they would have been better. Well, because I think Life Is But a Dream is an amazing comeback album for them. Because to me, the stage sucked. Basically, after the Rev passed, I could be corrected on this, but I'm pretty sure Nightmare came out, which he had a lot of credits still writing things on because he was alive for most of the production of it. But then Hail to the King came out, which I liked a lot, but I know exactly. The Stage came out, which I say boo and you liked, and then Life Is But a Dream came out. I think if the Rev never passes away, I think the success of Nightmare catapults Avenged Sevenfold on a trajectory that the Rev still being a creative part of that process. I think of now, this is certainly some bias of being a fan of theirs, but I think they could have become one of the most prominent metal bands on the planet. Now, that's not to take away because they have catastrophic success already. Like they're still a household name, but I think if the Rev could have stayed part of it, specifically on Life Is But a Dream, that album goes from an 8.5 to a 9.5, if not a 10, because that is, again, and when we say avant-garde, right, like basically what that means is like it's an experiment of expression using unorthodox sounds, instruments, styles, vocals, all of that. So while to your analogy of the Rev putting the blindfold on and getting through it, I think it's the same path that other people are taking where they're still running into pits and hitting nitro boxes and shit. But that is the intended path for the Rev.
That's
He
intended,
did that.
yeah.
Yeah, on part. Like he's not accidentally hitting that shit. He's saying, "Oh, nitro box. This will make a really cool sound in the background while I'm making fucking goblin noises. Let's do it." So, and that is why he's so important because you, not to break us two down here, not to get super meta in the middle of it, but you said that, and you're like, "Yeah, find your way around." I looked at that and I was like, "No, run right the hell at it because that'd be cool." Not enough people think like the Rev does in that regard, or I guess did in that regard, which is what makes it so goddamn special. But I'm going to blow through. Yeah.
No, I was just going to say, I have two questions for you. One,
Yeah.
I don't think you ever said what your favorite song was. You said that one of them was your favorite, but I might have missed it. What's your favorite? And two, you said this album sucked, but that's not in a I don't like it kind of thing,
Correct.
if I'm not mistaken, because I have several movies that I think suck, but I love the movies. The 1995 Mortal Kombat kind of sucks, and so does the one from 2021. That one's even worse. I love both of them. I think they're great. Like you can have a bad movie and still love it. Do you think that this is the case for you when it comes to Unfortunate Snort? You think it's a bad album, but do you like it?
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. It is. Okay. Just yes. Is the short answer to that. The longer answer. I'll give a bit more when I give my two ratings because it kind of encapsulates that. But no, it's 100% that. I don't really think that this is a good traditional metal album because I don't think it's meant to be. Like, again, for the Rev, and I've said this, I think even maybe this episode, but definitely on the Avenged Sevenfold episode, where I personally, and this is not me fanboying, this is a legitimate, unbiased thought, that I think the Rev and Sinister Gates are top 10 all time at their respective instruments. The Rev with the drums and Sinister Gates with guitar. I think they bring such a unique sound to their instruments. The Rev literally inventing styles to do the double octodad or whatever. And of course, like you said, when you didn't know this was Sinister Gates because you know what Sinister Gates sounds like. So I think for those two being as so insanely talented as they are, this couldn't have been anything but on purpose. And maybe not in a way where they sat in the lab and refined it to be weird, but more like you said, where it was like the Rev just kind of sat down one day, literally sat down with Sinister Gates, got drunk, and said, "What happens here? What are we gonna do? We're gonna make out? We're gonna write a song? Maybe both. Maybe both." So that is why I love it, because I think it's really bad traditionally, because it's supposed to be, and I think that's what makes it so impressive, is because you made this shit tier album that here is actually kind of what I said. I'll skip right to this. I said that I listen to this album in the same way that I would listen to a Weird Al Yankovic album, where it's not. Let's maybe be more fair, because Weird Al is meant to be parody, literal parody of existing songs. That's Weird Al, and it's supposed to be funny, it's supposed to be out of tune, it's supposed to be crazy, right? That's the whole guy's thing, and we love him for that. But I guess maybe more apt, since it's not meant, Pinkly Smooth is meant to be parody. Saul's out there, he's about to have a heart attack. It's the Young Gravy of metal. Here's why I say that, because it's a true incidental parody on metal music, because it's a journey into the mind we've not seen before and may never see again. The instrumentals are chaotic and beautifully out of place. The lyrics are almost unintelligible, and the meaning is lost and almost irrelevant to the idea of a mad scientist creating simply for the sake of creating. There is a beauty in that, and it sucks because it's supposed to. But to both of our points here, getting in that headspace, I listen to it as if it's supposed to suck. I don't listen to Weird Al being like, this is going to be refined, perfect new music. I don't listen to Young Gravy being like, this is going to be the new hottest rapper out there. No, they make shit that's like kind of funny, relatable to an extent, more whatever, right? Just kind of let your freak flag fly, as it were. Favorite song, Mesmer. I don't know. I think in a lot of ways, a lot of these songs can sound a little bit samey, because they have like that carnival circus, almost like you're in the Wild West in a tavern shooting off your guns in the fucking saloon type of thing. Literally yell, yeah, like half the songs. But that is the feel of every song. But Mesmer, there is a specific part of Mesmer that really, really hooks me in. And
which part?
It's like early to mid in the song, and they get done with like the first verse or something, and then the Rev hits like a little slick like pick action on the guitar, and then it runs into the next verse or whatever, and the lyrics are, now this was one where I couldn't find the exact lyric, so it either says I'm searching for or Satan has, it's something like that, but it says I'm searching for some better things to occupy my time. I went for the study of the evil souls, and I wish that they replied. Well, I sat on your stone and I talked to you for a while, and then goes into another hard fucking guitar riff, and he just starts yelling, "Sick for you, sick for you, sick for you, sick for you." So it's just like, it's like you said for Life Is But a Dream, where it's like, okay, you hit me with the foundation, and then you start to lay a little funk on there, a little bit of the color, the pop, the explosion, and then you just, for audio listeners, I'm punching my own hand. He just starts smacking you over the face with his own aggression and talent, and sick for you, sick for you. It's like,
what you're talking about? It's great.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
So like that whole little stretch right there, every time I hear it, I get like childlike excited to listen to that. So Mesmer for me, specifically for that part, but the song as a whole is easily, vocally, Mesmer shines. The Rev's delivery swings from the sly and theatrical to intensely emotional. It gives the song a personality that's impossible to imitate. It's expressive, weird, beautiful, and unmistakably Pinkly Smooth, unmistakably the Rev. It captures everything that makes Pinkly Smooth such a fascinating and beloved band. it's raw imagination. And again, it's that theatrical flair and it's a sense of mischievous creativity that feels like stepping into the Rev's very own dream world. Whenever you start the album to the from nut to butt, whenever you start this song specifically, the track pulls you into its strangely enchanting aura. And again, part carnival chaos, part melodic storytelling, entirely the Rev. That's my speech.
Well said. Well said. It was hard for me to pick a favorite. I know it's not McFly, and not that that's a bad song. It just, out of all of them, it's my least favorite. Um, when I've listened to them, like Necromance Theater comes on, and I'm like, this one is my favorite. I like this one a lot and the stuff that it does. And then Mesmer comes on, and I'm like, no, you know what? Mesmer, I think, is my favorite. And then Nosferatu does a hefty dance comes on, and I'm like, no, I think this one is. I like this part
got a
in the
cool
song.
name too.
Overall, I think I do have to go Mesmer as well for the same reasons that you talked about. And I love the little breakdown that you're talking about too. It's just, I don't know. It's just great. They do kind of all, I'm not going to say they all sound the same. That's not true, but I know what you're saying. Sometimes the chaos can sound a little bit similar. Like right now, I haven't listened to the album enough where if you were to play me like a 15-second snippet, I don't know if I could like always pinpoint exactly which song it's from.
Yeah.
But there are certain parts that stick out in each song to me. And yeah, I think Mesmer's is the best as well.
All right, so hit me with what your least favorite one is, if you even have one.
It's McFly. And not this is going to sound weird. I think it's actually the most like normal sounding song out of them. And it's just weird to listen to like a regular sounding song after you've listened to 5 songs of chaos. So, and it's not even bad. I still like it. What's yours?
Yeah, I think that's fair. Honestly, what do you want me to do here? What do you want me to say? They simultaneously, they all suck, but I cannot and will not pick a least favorite. They're all my beautiful redheaded stepchildren. Nobody else has to love them, but god damn it, I do. It's the theme of the album, right? It's bad. It's just, if you're looking for a traditionally good musical score, it is not this album. But if you're willing to take a journey with a man who was on a copious amount of drugs, alcohol, and neurodivergence, this is the album for you. It will take you places that you have not been since A Little Piece of Heaven. And granted, actually, this would have came well before that song ever came out.
Let's pretend that this is double its length. This is 12 songs that they came out with.
Oh, man.
Okay. Would you rather listen to this or the stage?
This. Ding, 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 ding.
Would you rather listen to this or Life is But a Dream?
Life is but a dream. I mean...
Okay. I was wondering where the line was drawn.
Yeah, and I know why you asked this. And it is definitely just overall Life is But a Dream. Just a better album as a whole. And still has some inspiration from the Rev on it. But I think those just hold two different places in my heart. Like if I want to listen to just a really good metal album, I'm going to listen to Life is But a Dream. If I'm feeling a little crazy and maybe I don't want to listen to like thrash metal, or I don't want these harsh, dark lyrics, which I know these lyrics are dark, but they could be hidden by the tone of it all. But if I don't want the tradition of metal, but I still want metal, which I know sounds really fucking stupid and niche, but it's this album. Like it just serves such a different purpose than any other metal album that I'd listen to. So yes, there's plenty of other albums that I would rather listen to, including Life is But a Dream, not including the stage. But there's also, like, if you just ask me on a certain day at a certain time where maybe I'm feeling a little zany, feeling a little crazy, maybe I got a little white wine in me after 6 months of not drinking. Yeah, maybe I'm like, I want to listen to that crazy bastard just sound like a goblin. It sounds fun to me. I don't want to listen to Life is But a Dream. I want to listen to this.
But yeah. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, but yeah, they're just two different things.
My last thought on Unfortunate Snort, maybe this is just because when I was a kid, I listened to a lot of Disturbed and Korn and all that sort of stuff, but I like the random noises he makes on certain songs where he's just like all these just weird things. And it sounds really cool when he does it. And it's got like a cool little, I don't know. I kind of wish there was more of that on songs, like on their songs in particular.
Yeah. I mean, I have a few points here that I'll blow through relatively quickly because we've already talked about most of them, really. But Pinkley Smooth and Unfortunate Snort, it truly feels like one of those where you get to be a pompous asshole and be like, nah, man, you just wouldn't get it if you weren't there for the underground days, man. You had to be there to hear, because that's what this is. Like, if you would tell somebody that this album exists and you would tell them like the theme, the aura, the vocals, this, that, the other, there's like no real reason to believe that this is a real thing until you hear it, right? Like, you can know that the Rev was a freak, but still be like, why would you even do this? But it does feel like one of those where it's like, if you're in the know, you're in the know, and if you're not, you're probably better off for it. But it's eccentric, it's theatrical, and it holds a mirror up to the personality that is James the Rev Sullivan. And to point back to a different Avenged song, A Little Piece of Heaven is the closest we will get to Pinkley Smooth, which inspired by Danny Elfman, the Rev, all of that. But beauty is in the eye of the beholder more than ever with this album. You can find deeper lyrical meanings like you were able to. You can let the rhythms sweep you into a comatose state of confusion, and just let this be a list of anthems on how to let your freak flag fly. You can also do what I do, which is listen to the album in the same way you'd listen to Weird Al, which, while not on purpose, I find this album to be a beautiful parody of what we believe normal metal to be. It's more free-flowing. It's clearly made with a bit of comedic relief in mind, with vocal and instrumental tones, like you were saying, such as goblin sounds and an almost circus-like Wild Western tavern tone to the keyboard guitar work. And get that yeehaw that he hits in one of these songs that literally just went off in my ear. As seen at the mid to end of Nosferatu Does a Hefty Dance, which I'm assuming is the song I'm listening to then. The instrumentals are chaotic and at points not woven together into one creation, but rather as if they're each their own beautifully empty story to tell. And I don't mean empty in a way that they don't evoke any emotion, but I truly believe a lot of this album was the Rev and Sinister Gates' way of saying, we are so insanely talented, we can do whatever we want and you will think it sounds good. And that is just true with this album. The emotions that it does bring to light are simply more of a fleeting impression of a stamp of joy, giddiness, and freakish expression of the mind onto your eyes for about 5 minutes at a time. The album's charm comes from its individuality. From the opening moments, you're thrown into a carnivalesque whirlwind of manic drumming, off-kilter melodies, and vocals that swing wildly between tender, haunting, and outright deranged, in the best possible way. The Rev's creativity is on full display here, and the record almost plays like a window into his imagination. Again, all those things. Playful, deeply, purely the Rev. And just throw traditional metal in a blender with a carnival experience and with the script to an old school fairy tale before Disney got its hands on it and they're still killing people and shit. And you put it in a blender, and at any point you open that lid, you're going to hear a different part of this album. And it's not meant to be blended together. It's screaming it there. The things are hurting, but it's what makes this just the best way to wrap that up in a nutshell is this album and this band is just so unmistakably the Rev.
Agreed.
Now, to quickly blow through where I think this album falters, if we are to actually take this album seriously when it's not meant to be. Honestly, again, what do you want me to say? Do you want me to take the macaroni art my kid handed me after a long day of first grade and spit on it and sell it Belle Delphine style to some gooner on the internet? Do you want me to point out that the melodies are mostly out of place, or more out of place than the bones in my fingers after 24 grueling years of goalkeeping? Do you want me to point out how the lyrics are nothing more than an excuse for a half man, half goblin to express his carny side? How about the only redeeming quality of this fucking album, Ryan, in a serious tone, is that the Rev and Sinister Gates are, in my opinion, top 10 in their respective instruments, because we should feel so fucking blessed that on the island of misfit toys, the Rev found a way to stand out from an already unique pack and give us hours, days, nay, years of joy between two different bands. Yes, traditionally this album is far from a masterpiece. As a matter of fact, it's downright terrible. But for what it's meant to be, an experimentation of expression and shattering limitations and boundaries of the genre, it's as perfect as you could want it to be. So I want this information from you, Ryan. I want this information from you. What? Because I gave it 2 different ratings. What rating did you give the album?
8 out of 10. Just One rating, 8 out of 10. I wish there was more. I know it was all crazy and chaotic and it still fits well together, but like we said, maybe some of the songs did start to sound a little bit samey in parts. My only critique, but 8 out of 10.
Fair. And I cannot overstate, whichever the appropriate one here is. I cannot say enough how excited I was to do this album. We literally thought of this. I don't even know why I thought of it, but I like saw Pinkley Smooth or decided to listen to it, and I threw it in our channel. I was like, we should just do this next week. I'll do all the research. I don't really give a shit. I was so insanely excited to do this because I love Avenged. I love Sinister Gates, and I grew to love the Rev. And to the extent of this episode that you guys are listening to right now, the length that we are currently at is over double the entire discography of Pinkley Smooth. Over double is the amount of time that I'm able to talk about this man and this album. I, as a real album, gave it a 3.5 out of 10 for all the reasons I'm not going to go back over. If you're looking for traditional metal, this isn't it. It's just not. There's a lot of pieces that work very well as individuals. They're just not meant to be put together. Now, my second rating, and I think what is actually the more appropriate rating and why you should be listening to this in the first place, is a 9 out of 10, which, if I'm not mistaken, is either tied for or the best. Maybe I gave Baby Metal a 9.5, maybe a 9. I can't remember, but it's either tied for or the best I've given an album, period. And my reasoning was one that I already read. It's that Weird Al Young Gravy experience where it's an unintentional parody of metal, but that's what makes it so beautiful, and everything that we've said for the past hour now. But as a real album, listen, if you're a true metalhead and you're looking for, another rock album, I don't know, man, maybe try listening to it. It's still worth it. I don't think you're going to get a ton of value out of it. I think if you're listening to this for the reasons it's supposed to be listened to, you're going to come out of this a better man, woman, thing. You just are. It's just such a fun, expressive album that's apparently a lot about death and depression and killing people. But that's the beauty of it.
Agreed. And well said. That's all I had, though, personally, from Fortunate Snort. I loved it.
Yeah. So for our listeners that have made it this far in the retention base here, Ryan actually had a really good idea that it looks like we're probably going to have to start implementing next week, where to keep our episodes a bit fresher, instead of, because eventually we'll get to the point where we've said all the things that you can say about the genre of music that we cover here on Rock Rants, and eventually we're going to have to continue to spice things up in our relationship, start bringing more toys into the lyrical bedroom, if you will, here. And one of those things that we're going to start doing is talking about relevant rock news. So if it's big bands that are touring, if it's award shows that are happening, a band just got a big award, something like that. And Ryan actually sent me a list of songs that were they were nominated for Best Metal Performance of the Year, right?
Grammy nominations. Yeah, I had the best rock categories. So it's like rock album of the year, rock song, rock performance. And then they have best metal performance, I think, and just best metal performance, I think. But yeah, hold on. Let me see. When exactly are the Grammys this year?
While he's finding that, basically the idea is that we're going to... When is it? I
think we still have a little bit. I'm not sure.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Either way, maybe next episode we can start talking about that sort of stuff, the nominations and our opinions on that, in addition to whatever album we choose. So
hopefully we'll have some more freelance shit for you guys to listen to that isn't just the album we're covering, or in this case, the two artists that made the band that we were trying to cover that only has a half hour worth of music to listen to. But
this says it's February 1st, 2026.
Oh, we got time, baby. I mean, I have notes for next week on all those songs you sent me already. I can get more to elaborate on them too. But I mean, it's a good list of songs. For those, we'll cover it next week. But for those wondering, the songs are, if you want to go and listen on your own and be prepared for what we're going to say next week, it is Night Terror by Dream Theater. It is Lacrima by Ghost. It is Emergence by Sleep Token. It is Soft Spine by Spirit Box. And it is Birds by Turnstile. Those are all of the ones that were nominated for Best Metal Performance of the Year. We have both listened to them. We'll have some thoughts and opinions on those coming next week. The long and short of it for me, without going into details, they're all good songs. I recommend listening to every single one of them. I don't think any of them are backbreaker or, game changers, but they're good songs. Listen to them.
I got strong opinions. We'll save them for next week.
Hell yeah. So this was Pinkly Smooth, Unfortunate Snort, and unfortunately, the Rev is gone far too soon for us. This band only has about a half an hour of material out there. I think this album is 6 songs, about 28 and a half minutes long. And then they have one more song that they released later, which I believe is called...
Drop D, I think.
Yeah. Which is like another 5-minute song or something like that, and it's terrible. So a little over 30 minutes of material to listen to from this band. All of it 1000% worth it. Unfortunately, it does not appear to be available on Spotify anymore. Just look up Pinkly Smooth Unfortunate Snort on YouTube. Not too many other things that string of words can really get you. So this was unfortunately this was
Unfortunately Smooth Pinkly Snort.
And my name is The Rev, joined as always by my I can never get the goddamn side right.
Sinister Gates.
That's right. And this is Smiggy and Ryan. Thank you all for rocking with us. Next week we will... shit, what are we doing next week?
We'll figure it out.
We were going to do Rise Above...
Mice and Men.
Ah, there we go. We're going to do we're going to do Mickey and the Mouseketeers, Mickey Mouse Clubhouse next week. We were going to do a little behind the scenes. We were going to do Rise Against album Ricochet. We listened to it. We were going to do it during Extra Life last week. That album sucked. Rather, it was just so painfully average that it really wasn't worth diving into. If you want a Rise Against album, listen to it. If you don't fucking listen to it. I don't know what else to tell you for that.
That's the second album behind the scenes that we've dropped because we didn't want to sit there and bash respected artists, because it's artists that I really respect, but like Smiggs just said, it was very average.
Wait, well, I know that's right. Oh God, yeah. No, that album actually sucked. The Rise Against album was at least just a bunch of like 6 out of 10 Rise Against songs. The Alice Cooper album just fucking sucked. That was bad. Oh, shouts out to a legend, but that was bad. Anyway, next week will be fuck me. You want to take us out this week?
Next week, Mice and Men. They just came out with an album last Friday, I think. I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head, so I'm not going to say it and get it wrong. But if you just go to Mice and Men's page on YouTube, Spotify, whatever, you'll find it. It's there. Listen to it, and then listen to us. That's it. Thanks, everybody.
Love you all. See you next time.
Bye.